My dear P5 learners, how are you? I hope you are fine. This is Mr. Mugisha Emmanuel, who has come back to teach you mathematics. But before I take you through today's lesson, in our previous lesson we learned about solving equations. But these equations were related to equivalent fractions. And I gave you 6 numbers, which I hope you sat down and did these 6 numbers so well. So, can we quickly go through the activity which I gave you? I gave you A, we are finding for the unknown. And the unknown in A, it is 5 out of 7, and the unknown is x out of 35. Okay? So in this case, I told you that you first get the common factor which we are going to multiply on this fraction by getting 35. We divide it by 7, which is going to give you 5. 35 divided by 7, you get 5. Therefore, we shall get the fraction 5 out of 7. We multiply by the common factor which we have got. And 5 times 5, we shall get 25 out of 7 times 5, we shall get 35. So 35 is already given in our equation here, and we are interested in the numerator. Therefore, x is equal to 25. I hope you passed this. Then we have B. B, it is 3/4, which is equal to 27 out of y. So the missing number is on the denominators, and we have been given numerators. So we shall have 27 divided by 3, which is going to give you 9. So it means the common factor now is 9. So we shall have 3/4 times 9 times 9, which will give you 27 out of 36. 27 is already given, so we compare using the denominators. Therefore, y is equal to 36. Then we have C. C, we have 2/4 is equal to m out of 8, which is equal to 10 out of n. First deal with the first one. Okay? So the numerators are given. We shall have 8 divided by 4, which will give you 2. So it means the common factor here is 2. So we shall have 2 out of 4 times 2 times 2, which is going to give you 2 by 2. We shall get 4. 4 times 2, 8. Therefore, 8 has already been given, so we take the numerator. This one means that the value of m is 4. The value of m is 4. Then we come to 2 out of 4, which is equal to 10 out of n. Remember, I told you can also use this one, since we have already got the value of m. So you can say 4 out of 8 is equal to 10 out of n. It will give you the same answer. Or you compare the first and the last. So we are comparing the numerators, that is 10 divided by 2, which will give you 5. So we have 2 out of 5, out of 4, then times 5 times 5. 2 times 2, we are getting 10. 4 times 5, we are getting a 20. So in our number, 10 is already given, so we need the denominator. Therefore, n is equal to 20. Then we have D. D, we have x out of 9 is equal to 4 out of 18. And in this case, you are expected to first get 18 divided by 9, which will give you 2. Then you get, since this number is supposed to be smaller than 4, we again divide. That is 4 divided by 2, which will give you a 2. So it means these two will be substituted in the place for x. Therefore, x is equal to 2. Then we have E, and E is 2 out of T, which is equal to 8 out of 28. So we are using numerators, which is 8 divided by 2, which will give you 4. But remember, this one is supposed to be smaller than this one, so we again divide. 28 divided by 4, which is going to give you 7. So for this case, T is equal to 7. T is equal to 7. And lastly, we have 2 out of 12 is equal to 4 out of D, which is equal to E out of 48. Begin by comparing the first two fractions. So we shall have 4 divided by 2, which will give you 2. 2 out of 12, we multiply by 2, we multiply by 2. 2 by 2, we shall get a 4. Out of 12 times 2, we are getting 24. 4 is given, so it means I'm looking for 24. D is equal to 24. Then finally, we can compare the first one and the last one. 2 out of 12 is equal to E out of 48. So we shall get 48, we divide it by 12, and this one is going to give you 4. After getting 4, we multiply throughout. 2 out of 12 times 4 times 4. And you find that 2 times 2, you get 8. 12 times 4, you will get 48. 48 is given, therefore we are interested in the numerator. So E is equal to 8. I hope you passed all of these numbers because they were very simple. For those who passed all these numbers, you are so great. And for those who have failed some few numbers, do corrections, but next time try to pay attention so that you can get the concept very well. So my dear learners, today we are going to look at comparing fractions using these symbols. We have a symbol of greater than, a symbol of less than, and a symbol of equal to. I can demonstrate these symbols using my 2 hands. My 2 hands. I do all my activities using this hand. Therefore, this hand is greater than this one. This hand does not do a lot of work. Therefore, this one does less work. So I can say this sign is less than, this sign is greater than. So you can always use your hands to know which one is greater and which one is smaller. So in our example number 1, the instruction is use greater than, comma, less than or equal to make the statement correct. To make the statement correct. So A, we have a half, then dash a third. From P3, they taught you how to compare this. Remember, where the opening is where the bigger number should be. Okay? Where the opening is where the bigger number should be. In your P3, teachers taught you that you can use diagrams. How? If you have a half, dash, a third, that you draw here diagrams, but make sure those diagrams are of the same size. Then divide this one into 2 So you shade a half. Even this one, we are going to divide it into 3 parts. So we have this, we have this, we have this. So you shade a third. Then you compare the shaded part for a half and the shaded part for a third. Which one is bigger? This part for a half is going to be bigger. And I have told you where the opening is where the bigger number is. Therefore, a half is bigger. And when we are reading this one, we say a half is greater than a third. Now, this method which teachers gave you in P3 and P4 works on only one type of fractions. And which type of fractions? Those are unitary fractions. Unitary fractions. What are unitary fractions? Unitary fractions are fractions whose numerator is 1. But now here in P5 I will give you unitary fractions and other proper fractions. So what do you do? The same method will not work. Therefore, for that case, you will allow me to explain what you are supposed to do. So, if you have a half, which you are supposed to compare to a third, and you want to know the fraction which is bigger, 1, make sure these fractions have the same denominators. Make sure these fractions have the same denominators. How do we make sure that these fractions get the same denominators? By using equivalent fractions, which I have already taught you. So we are going to get a half, okay? We are comparing it with a third. So I'm going to use the denominator for the fraction which I'm comparing to a half. And the denominator for a third is 3. So you multiply it on both numerator and denominator. 1 times 3, we get 3. 2 times 3, we shall get 6. So there we are. Then we go to a third. Then I use the denominator of the fraction here. And the denominator is 2. Remember, I have brought 3 here. So I have now to use 2 for this. So we shall have a third times 2 times 2. 1 times 2 we shall get 2. Out of 3 times 2 we shall get 6. Do you see the way we have got the same denominators? Yes. Now, after getting equivalent fractions, now you can compare. Somebody who has scored 3 out of 6 and somebody who has scored 2 out of 6, who has scored more? Somebody who has scored 3 out of 6 has scored more. So for that case, we shall use greater than. So a half is greater than a third. Then you underline. You underline. Let's look at another example. Let's look at another example. B, we are comparing 2/3 dash, then 3/4. We are comparing 2/3 dash 3/4. So what are we going to do here? We shall get 2/3. Then we multiply it by the denominator of the other fraction, which is 4. So we shall multiply the numerator by 4, the denominator by 4. 2 times 4, we get 8. 3 times 4, we get 12. Okay? Then 3/4. Now I multiply by the denominator of the other fraction, 3. So we multiply this by 3, this one by 3. 3 times 3, we are getting 9. 4 by 3, we are getting 12. Someone has 8 out of 12, another person has 9 out of 12. Who has scored more? This one is bigger. Okay? So since this one is bigger, then it means we are going to say 8 is less than 9. So we shall say 2 out of 3 is less than 3 out of 4. And there I have compared. Let's have another example. Let's have another example whereby we are comparing 3 out of 7, then dash 6 out of 6 out of 14. 3 out of 7 dash 6 out of 14. So we shall have 3 out of 7. Then we multiply it by the denominator of the other fraction, which is 14. So we shall say times 14 times 14. Then 3 times 14, arrange vertically and multiply. 14 times 3. 3 times 4, that is 12, you carry 1. 3 times 1, that is 3 plus 1, that is 4. So we are getting 42 out of. Then we shall get 14 times 7. 7 times 4, we shall get 28. 7 times 1, we shall get 7 plus 2, 9. So we are getting out of 98. Then we shall have 6 out of 14. Now we multiply by the denominator of the other fraction, which is 7 times 7. And what do we get? 6 times 7, what do we get? 6 times 7, what do we get? Very good, 42. Out of 14 times 7, you need to multiply vertically and get the answer. That is 14 times 7. And 14 times 7, 4 times 7, we get 28, we carry 2. 1 times 7, that is a 7 plus 2, 9. So we are getting out of 98. So when we are comparing, we shall compare this and this. 42, 42. What are they in value? 42 and 42 are equal in value. So we shall use equal signs. That this one is equal to this one. This fraction is equal to that one. Let's go to the last example. And in this last example, I am going to give you another method which you can use. Assuming you have 5 sixths, then dash 3 quarters. We have 5 sixths dash 3 quarters, and we want to compare which one is bigger. I have already shown you that you can use equivalent fractions, which I have used in example number 1, example 2, and example 3. Now in our example 4, I'm going to give you another method. And this method, you use what we call the LCM. You use what we call the LCM. And LCM of what? LCM of denominators. So we are going to find the LCM of these denominators. 6 and 4. Remember, when we are finding LCM, we can use multiples. We can also use prime factorization, rather method, to find the LCM. So can we factorize? You want this. Which prime number do we begin with? 2. Can 2 divide any number here? Yes. So we shall say by 2. 6 divided by 2. 6 divided by 2 we get 3. 4 divided by 2. And 4 divided by 2 we get 2. Again, we divide by 2. 3 divided by 2, we are going to get remainders, and we don't want remainders, so we reserve the 3. 2 divided by 2, we are getting 1. Can 2 divide any number here? No. So we go to the next prime number, 3. 3 divided by 3, 1. 1 divided by 3, we don't want remainders, so we just write and maintain that number. So to get the LCM, we shall multiply these factors. 2 times 2 times 3. 2 times 2, we are getting 4, and 4 times 3, we are getting a 12. Okay? So after getting 12, what do? We are going to get that fraction, that LCM. We multiply it on each fraction. So we have 5 out of 6 times the LCM, 12. Then we reduce. Divide by 6, 1. 12 divided by 6, we get 2. So we shall have 5 times 2. And 5 times 2, we shall get a 10. The same shall be done on 3 quarters. So 3 quarters times the LCM. And the LCM is 12. Divide by 4, 1. 4 goes into 12 how many times? That is 3 times. So it is 3 times 3. And 3 times 3 we shall get 9. So when we are comparing, this side has 10. The other side has 9. Which one is bigger? 10 is bigger than 9. Therefore, we are going to say 5 out of 6 is greater than 3 out of 4. And there I have compared. So, when I give you work, you are free to use any method. You can use equivalent fractions. You can use LCM method, depending on the method which you think is simpler for you. Never go for a method which is hard. That's why we give you a variety of methods so that you can choose or use a method which will not confuse you. I want to give you an activity of very few numbers, and I hope you are going to enjoy the activity. Have a nice time.